to detention.
Back in detention again. My favorite place to be.
It's fun.
Always has been.
I always feel a bit naughty, like, because I'm like, oh, what are we going to say? I'm like,
Detention is a state of mind.
it is. Yeah, I'm always in detention. You know, I think we talked about this, but we always open the show being like, oh, I was never in detention. Oh, actually, I was. So we're going to cut that crap. We're not putting it in. We're not talking about our own personal experiences to do with detention. What we are talking about is Brat.
That's right. Brat. Charli XCX. This is a new album, disgusting green with fuzzy one-word album title, Brat. And it's been haunting me for a couple of weeks because when it came out and the gay internet just went for it, I went into a state of panic.
What?
Yeah, because all of a sudden it exploded. It was a Brat Summer. I already have a problem with that because it is winter right here in Australia and no one cares about the Southern Hemisphere. So already I was feeling like I was missing out just from the summer part. Even people in Australia kept calling it a Brat Summer. And it's like, babe, it is 6 degrees outside.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If someone said to me, do you like Charli XCX? I would say maybe. Like, I've never met, actually, I was going to say never met her. I have met her. Subtle flex. Anyway, I do like Charli. The thing for me is like I'm not a club kid. I don't like listen, I'll put it this way. The electro music that I listen to is like prog rock if it was electro. So there's so there's like, for me, there's a bit of I can't. Listen, I try and listen to Brat, and what happens is I go, it's not for me.
Really? Because your nails suggest otherwise.
Again, like last week, they are fluoro yellow, and now I'm concerned that the cones in your eyes aren't picking up color properly.
They're green.
It's yellow.
That is Brat green.
Hannah, I don't think you can be a pilot.
I can't be a pilot because I have a negative 2.5 script.
If you're watching this, they are not green, they're yellow.
They're green.
The reason they're throwing green is because there's a warm light on here.
No, I've seen them before. They look like kiwi fruit, or as I now call them, Brat fruit. But your nails aside, I was stressed because everyone just jumped. It was kind of like, somebody lit a match in a gas-filled building and boom. Everyone was so excited. But me, I felt like I wasn't getting it because when I listened to it, I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, I was like, oh, it's okay. I wish it would be turned off. Like, it's too much. And I was stressed because I was like, I want to love this because I do love, Charli.
I do too. It's just like, I don't know. Some of the tracks, like, okay, put it this way, 3.6, what are they calling it? 360?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
That is good.
I just want to get into my Spotify. This is the thing. So one of my favorite songs by Charli is Claws. Underrated hero. Claws. Have you listened to that?
No.
Okay. Very good. What I want to say though about Brat as a cultural phenomenon, it has injected itself into the zeitgeist like nothing I've really seen in the last couple of years. What I do want to say and what I find interesting is, have you noticed that obviously aside from Taylor Swift, who's become insanely prolific and I think has kind of left the stratosphere in terms of like young pop star. She's just like,
ephemeral.
Ephemeral. She's very like, Beyonce, Celine Dion, like very in that level. Like we can't get rid of her now. She's here to stay. Whereas like for the last few years, particularly since like Olivia Rodrigo, I would say in like 2019, we haven't really seen any sort of, not new talent, but like there's been no new pop stars. Who's been there? There's been really no one. I think from the years of 2019 to like now, it's only in the last like 12 months that we've really seen people like get on the podium and take up the place and culture of pop stars, and those people being like Selena, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan and Charli XCX. I would say that like at least in the online space.
Yep, Carolyn Polachek maybe.
Yeah, but again, that's a little bit too niche.
I feel like you are talking about kind of artists making that divide from being pop stars to being like capital P pop stars.
Yes, and I think that it's really, I think maybe that's part of my like hesitation to engage with the Brat thing that's going on right now, is because it's like I have listened to Charli XCX since she said I love it on stage in whatever country that was, and that was a thing, you know. Like I feel old. I feel like this music, even though we're like Charli and I and you as well, like we're kind of in the same age bracket, like I just don't feel like the music is almost for me. Number one, I just feel like it's for people that are younger than me, which obviously says that I'm feeling old. Number two, I think that it's like music that I can't really relate to because, you know, Charli, she's a club girl. She loves going out. She loves that lifestyle. She really puts that lifestyle like as part of her branding and who she brings to stage. And I love that, but I can't relate to it at all. So I feel it feels hard for me to like get into this album. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because first of all, like when Brat launched, I was already feeling stressed because Taylor Swift dropped Tortured Poets Department.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I was listening to that. But then there was that whole second part to it. And then I was feeling like I was drowning because I couldn't churn through the songs. One thing to know about me is I'm a song rinser. I love to listen to a single song over and over and over and over and over again. Like, it's kind of embarrassing, you know, like I never want a public Spotify or anything because if people could see me, I would just be listening to the one song for hours. And so when I get into a new album or something, I need to rinse it. And so I was kind of deep and there was like a few tracks on, you know, Tortured Poets Department that I was getting into. But then when the second part dropped, I was like, oh God, like there's not enough hours in the day for me to listen to music how I listen to it. But then Good Luck Babe happened.
Yeah.
And so that was obviously massive. I had to stop all Taylor in favor of like, you know, just listening to Good Luck Babe on repeat. But then Brat happened and I was still getting through Chappell's back catalogue and, you know, dipping into some other things that I just went like, it's too much. And I felt really overwhelmed that I wasn't part of the discourse. And I think I was like listening to it and I just hadn't listened enough to it. People were judging me because I was like, oh yeah, Brat, you know. The only problem is that now I've finally made my way through Brat and I love it. I'm just a couple of months late.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that like it you know, the Brat discourse is kind of teetering out now, or is it? Because I feel like, and this is my other thing, I'm not staunch on trends. Like if you notice, like anything personal I do, like anything I share, it's not really trend driven unless it's like a take on a trend. And so like, you know, for me, when something's like trend, I'm like, whoa, fucking back up. Like you just step 10 foot away, keep Jesus between us because like, like it's just, I find it a little bit, I'm like, I like to decide what I engage with. And when everything becomes like swathed in this like Shreky, swampy green, I'm like, guys, that was Shrek's color. Hello.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know. For me, I find it kind of like, I don't like being told what to do. And when like every business,
especially
when
you loved that green.
I have loved this green for a long time. Those who know.
Yeah, now it's Brat green, not Shrek.
Yeah.
Green. But oh my God, I completely forgot, right? What happened in the middle of like
this year?
Brat as well.
What
was
do you mean?
Billie Eilish. She released Lunch.
Oh yeah. Well, see, this is the thing. And this is what I'm saying. I'm like, I think, and this is what's really interesting to me because like I've been reflecting on late 2010s, like 20 teens, late 2000s, early 2010s. And what I find really interesting is that, and I've been saying this for a while, I think rock is coming back and I think alternative is coming back. And the reason I say
the guitar renaissance is happening.
And I say that because we're in such a moment of pop right now. You know, everyone's like pop. And pop is really good for like the first time in almost like 20 years.
It's still got some of those like rock elements though. I mean, I'm seeing The Last Dinner Party tonight and they do the guitar thing. I mean, even, there's so many that are doing a bit of that guitar renaissance. Actually though, like Brat to me, the way that I listen to it, it feels like, because I understand what you say about being a club kid. I was a club kid, not like a Berkheim club kid, but I did enjoy going to the club. And what I liked more though was listening to that kind of music in my bedroom. And what I like about Brat is it's got that like lo-fi feel. There was like, I adore Sophie.
Yeah.
And her music when she was making it, even when she was performing under the name Cutie, it had that like lo-fi production bedroom kind of
you could tell
electro music.
Yeah.
And I love that because that was the first time where it was like, before I really found the right kind of like clubs that I liked or, you know, had any kind of queer community, I had this like weird bedroom thing happening where you'd be in your bedroom and you would be like, I don't know, I'd just be like trying makeup on for fun or something like that and listening to that type of music, which made me feel like girlish. Like I could even when Charli XCX released Boys, there's something kind of that encapsulated just lying around in my bedroom wishing I had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was that kind of like late teen type feeling where you kind of got that nostalgia for being a teenager, but with the agency of being able to go out and do whatever you want, but maybe not having the community or maybe feeling a bit isolated. And so I listened to so much of that music. And so now I'm really into Brat. I'm just dealing with everybody in my life being like, well, duh. Or like, I told you it was good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know. Part of me is just like, let me experience this on my own terms. And maybe it's just like my personal positioning on like, again, like how I feel about trans and stuff. But, you know, you saying you listening to like that kind of music in your bedroom, it really did remind me of like when Jedi Primes by Grimes came out. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the album. I've never said it out loud, but it came out in 2010. And I remember getting like downloading it on LimeWire, and I was like going around at school being like, listen to Grimes, and everyone was like, who the fuck is this? And then when Visions came out and like Blogspot was massive and all of these like girlies were like listening to Visions, and it was really big as well on Tumblr when the Oblivion like soundtrack came out, and she started to do some press and interviews and things like that. And she kind of had that presence online. I just remember being in my bedroom. It's such a weird like thing to remember, but like I had like the blinds drawn, but like they were Venetian blinds. So like the kind of sun was streaming in, and I had like incense going, and, you know, I was just like lying there with my sister, and we were like listening to Visions on my like school provided mini laptop that had like shitty speakers. And it was that kind of like, you know, if Grimes came out with an album like this year and it got as big as Brat, like I would be pissed, like, to be honest. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it feels almost like something's being taken away.
Yeah, like when it becomes part of the mainstream, you're kind of, I definitely understand that, especially when it's like being parroted or forced back down your throat. Like, you know, I think part of me is also like, you know, all of these artists deserve huge stardom. Yeah. But when your favorites have a moment and then you're being told it's being kind of thrown back at you or like repackaged in a way that presents the artist in a way that's different from how you've authentically loved them, that can be really hard.
But also I think it's like when you're able to, like, I think about this all the time, and like, again, it's like a personal thing. It's like when you're able to, like, for example, like see the albums on the table, like let's just say the table of the mind or the table of like life, whatever.
Okay.
And you're able to go like, oh, I would like to like, thank you for inviting me into this room. I would like to pick up this album now and I will enjoy it. And, you know, if I walk out of this room like wanting to talk to people in the lobby about it, I will. What is happening with Brat online and this whole like Brat Summer is like as if I've got to the door of the room with the table and someone's already telling me this is the album that you'll be listening to. And you have to go and you have to talk about it with these people behind you here in the lobby. And I'm like, get fucked. Like what? Like, I don't know. That's how it feels. And I feel like it's a disservice to the artist, you know, like in a way, because I'm like, it just for me, it's like, it kind of sanitizes it a bit, because I think when we're able to engage in media in an organic way, we're able to connect with it on a different level than if someone like almost forced us to do it. It's like when your friend like sits you down and like makes you watch an episode of a show.
Oh, and then
and then you're like, I can't do this properly. Like I have to be in my own space at my own time. I have to have my like hoodie on, you know, like just like.
It's true. It's true. Like my best friend loves Buffy so much that I can't watch an episode.
Yeah. Well,
just because I can never live up to the pressure of what she loves about this show.
That's the thing. And it's like, I have not even listened to Brat all the way through because I listened to a few songs and I'm like, oh, I'm actually not scared of getting cancelled or scared of being different or whatever. But it's just like, I know like objectively that the album is incredible. Like, because like for coming from like a music background, like I know it's really good and I know the production is really interesting and cool. And I know that it's like prolific and it's and in a really like capital P way. But I, as like a consumer, just I can't do it right now. I actually have to wait for the Brat summer to be over. I need it to be non-Brat winter because like it's just I don't think I'm gonna have like the right frame of mind to like engage with it, which is kind of sad, but I'm sure I'm not the only person.
No, I definitely feel like that. And I think it had, by the time I started getting into it and I was up to it in my like stack of music to rinse, I think it did help. I mean, I guess it's like that thing where, you know, like there are these big shows that everybody watches that like it's hard to get into in terms of peak hype, but then you've got like a special treat waiting for you if you want to watch a really long series from the beginning that you've never seen.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Often, like, I don't know how you feel, but, you know, I think in some ways I'm really up with culture and I'm like an innovator, can I say? But other ways, like particularly with like film, TV and music, I'm so out of the loop. Like not out of the loop. It's like I know what's going on, but I'm just not I'm not in there personally. Like as a like I'm in there professionally, but not personally a lot of the time. And I always kind of feel like there's something wrong with me. I don't like.
No, I don't.
Do you get that?
Well, no, but I think that as in I don't have the same experience, but what it reminds me of is a friend of mine, a really like my first like, I guess, relationship. He was in a band and like a musician or whatever, very like kind of played jazz, bass guitar. And anyway, he had such an extensive like music collection and music interests and like such a diverse range of music that he liked. And he was kind of outside. He never listened to any of that kind of like, you know, radio or was out of touch of any kind of trending or anything, any music that was like big at the moment. Because he was always either listening to like some kind of like weird, obscure, I don't know, like Polish band or, you know, jazz from 1941, but then also, you know, French techno or whatever. But I remember going to his house and he was blasting TikTok by Kesha.
Yeah.
And so by the time I like made him realize that I was standing in the doorway, I was like, what are you doing playing Kesha so loudly at 11 a.m.? He was like, oh my God, have you heard her? Now this is like, Kesha was on every radio, just like everyone in every store. TikTok was everywhere. And I was like, are you trolling me? And he was like, I just found this artist. The S is a $. Her name is like Keisha. Anyway, she has this song called TikTok. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And what was so great was because that was like a really strong core memory I have of somebody who was just like experiencing a massive mainstream pop artist in isolation.
Yeah.
And like appraising it basically on its merit and loving it, but having nothing to do with the context surrounding who it was.
Yeah.
And it always makes me think, do I like this because I like it, or do I like it because the algorithm is telling me I like it, or do I like this because, you know, I feel like I need to because of the social group that I belong to? But it was amazing to see somebody who, went from kind of some kind of would happily listen to a barbershop quartet as well as like a, I don't know, progressive shoegaze band, and then just be like, Keisha, this song's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe you're like that.
Maybe a little bit. I do feel like that. Because I mean, like, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it's funny because it's like whenever I do like watch things like when they're like happening at the time, like the Dallas Cowboys cowboy cheerleaders, like I watched that kind of in the throes of it. I did feel kind of part of something. Like I felt like I was part of something that was happening. Obviously that's not as big as Brat Summer, like even though it should be. Like I did feel like I was part of something and it kind of felt good. But at the same time, I'm like, I already have things that like I like to watch, I want to watch. And I think this is like a criticism as well, like of like people around me, because they're like, Rudy, you say that you don't have time to like watch or listen to new things, so then you'll put on like Bob's Burgers every night. I'm like, I don't think you understand what that is doing in my life. I don't do that. I do it because I like watching it and I like having it on there. But like for me as like an autistic person, there is a level of like regulation that I require. And unfortunately, due to the life I have, that the space for new things isn't super big, like at certain times of my life.
No, but I think
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's exactly what I think I'm saying in terms of, I guess, if you're someone who is predisposed to hyperfixate on things, like
you got to be careful.
You've got to kind of, that it's coming. It's like a massive undertaking for you to bring something into your life that you might like, because you know that it's going to occupy such a large spot, and then you've got to make room for all of your other like really important kind of comfort culture pieces. So like the idea of like if someone's being like, oh, you should listen to this, I know that I feel a bit like, whoa, okay, do I have space for it in my life if I love it? Yeah. You know, and then on the flip side, if I don't listen to it, I'm like, why are you polluting my sphere with something I'm not definitely going to like? Yeah, literally. And it kind of, that's a thing as well, because it's like when it comes to like hyperfixating or like special interests and stuff, I feel like if someone was to say like, oh, do you have any shame, or like, is there any like shame that like you feel to do with this stuff, I would normally say no, but I do think like in talking about it, there is a level of like part of me, as I don't know, maybe as I've gotten older or something, I don't know, again, like I don't know if you feel this way, but it's like I am scared almost to have hyperfixations or special interests that aren't like super quote unquote like mainstream, because the rejection that you feel when you go to talk about it and no one's interested because they just want to talk about Brat is really hard to like cope with. Like I know Arcane, like I love Arcane so much, but no one gives a fuck. And like every time I try and talk about it, people kind of don't make fun of it, but like they kind of just like don't care and they don't get it. Like Ted Lasso, missed the boat on that one, which was kind of fine because at least I had you to talk about it with. Really into Cars too, the film. Oh, the film. Yeah, okay, really funny. Everyone kind of hates it, but I was like talking to someone the other day and they were like, no, that's the worst film ever. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's a car film that's a spy movie at the same time. Like, what's not the love? Anyway, like, and then with like music, it's like the same. It's like part of me is like, you gotta be careful. Like, what are you getting into? Because like if no one's interested in talking about it, then it's going to hurt, you know? Interesting. Which is like why maybe it's like I don't want to be the one hurting others that like Brat by being like, no, I don't really like it. Maybe I'm just trying to avoid conflict. I mean, I have the opposite feeling because I have for the longest time, and I've never really cracked it with any therapist, but I have a deep phobia of having fun. I do realize this. That has stopped me from looking at going to things like festivals or parties or anything that is typically seen as fun that people would feel is really fun, that people are really looking forward to. If the people around me are getting really excited for something, I get the same level of intensity of feelings but terror. And I don't know really what it is, but the idea of not living life to the absolute max or wringing enough enjoyment out of anything is like this pressure that causes me a lot of anxiety. And so the way that I see it is I try and keep my excitement levels like on a pretty even keel. Because like the way that I feel like sometimes if you just take it like food, right? Sometimes if there's say that you walk in and there's like a whole table of like all of your favorite foods piled up. There's like anything you've ever possibly loved and wanted piled up, and someone just goes in and you're like, go for it. And you eat and eat and eat, but like you feel sick because you're eating like all of these different foods that maybe shouldn't go together, or like you can't decide what to eat. I know Sylvia Plath in The Bell Jar has like this amazing metaphor about seeing this fig tree full of figs and not being able to choose which fig, and then before you realize that they've all kind of gone off and are rotten. And I feel like that's how I feel towards kind of like life or cultural gifts. I'm like get so overwhelmed that I try and keep, instead of like a massive smorgasbord of all my favorite foods, I'm like, I think I would actually be genuinely happier if someone said, if I walked into a room and like a sandwich that I quite like was on the table and someone said, hey, here's a sandwich. Like that would make my day. But if someone made it amazing, I would hyperventilate.
I think that's really interesting. I know, like, I don't like it's very complex. I feel like I can get where you're coming from. I'm not sure if like I have the same root issue, because I know for me, I misconstrue being excited for being scared. And so like over the years, I've definitely gone from someone who's like, wow, oh my God, I'm excited for everything. I feel super like good about everything. Like I'm really into things, to being like, oh, actually I can't feel that intensely about it, because then I also am leaving myself open to feeling intensely bad.
That's kind of it. That's basically, that's it. I feel like excitement and fear come from the same part. And yeah, absolutely. Too much excitement opens you up for like all of these other potentially harder emotions.
Because I do remember like when I was like in my early, I think I was like maybe just 20, 21 or something. And I remember something like maybe I was like going through like relationship issues. And I remember being like declaring to my friend, being like, that's it. I'm done. Like I cannot like feel this intensely about anything ever again, because I cannot cope with like the potential like bad payoff of it. Like I can't deal with it being bad. Like that's actually dealing with and coping with it, something going badly or feeling badly about something is it just the pros don't outweigh the cons, which at the time, like, you know, it's not as if I walked away from that conversation like living my life like that, but I do feel like that philosophy did permeate into my life, which is upsetting, I guess. But like I do feel like what you're saying, like, yeah, it is difficult. I do wonder
though, I mean, I don't know if it's a brain makeup thing, but I do think whatever kind of brain makeup that we have in common, there's, I think, not a lot of acknowledgement about how much we need to self-regulate our excitement because of the flip sides that it comes with. And that it could be social, like in terms of people, you feeling disappointed that people aren't interested in what you're interested in, or like the potential of something not living up to what you have because, you know, there's an excitement. I feel like that is something, you know, perhaps it's, I do a lot of management to keep my life okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot this year about like the how did I phrase it? I wrote this down somewhere. Anyway, basically just like how like is comfortability what we should be is contentedness and comfortability what we should be ultimately searching for? And I am at the point now, because I have really been thinking about this all year. I actually don't think it is. I think that for a particular like group of people, like myself included, it's actually like it actually is more of a detriment than something that can help. Like, because I think for people who are neurodivergent, like we're always having to regulate, we're always having to ensure that like we are sort of in our bubble, because otherwise like we kind of, you know, if you've, you know, a lot of people will understand this, like your life can just go off the fucking rails so quickly. And you can find yourself in like lots of, you know, holes that you don't want to be in. And so I feel like the answer to that is like a level of comfortability, a level of assuredness that's just like so, and I'm talking about emotional assuredness, that's just so extreme that it's dampening and it's like counterintuitive to like living a full life. And I think that like part of it is probably like, and I'm talking like psychologically now, like part of it probably goes back to the fact that like no one helped us regulate. No one taught us how to regulate. No one listened to us. Like no one, like, you know, took the time, you know what I mean? And so we've had to really champion that ourselves, but that's kind of meant that we've had to sort of put almost like a damp blanket on the fire that really like we could have just kept stoking. As long as we knew that like we had to wear heat-proof gloves. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think there is something interesting in that because, no one taught us how to regulate. So the burden of regulation has always been on ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think with that, and I'm not saying that it's other people's jobs to regulate us
No.
or anyone. However, it does mean that like if we're stuck alone with needing to regulate ourselves, then we're going to be more incentivized to like keep ourselves contained in a way because we don't have that like community co-regulation or we weren't brought up in that sense. So we naturally dampen it or control it.
Yeah. Like think about it this way, like how good, and like this is something I'm sure is like super relatable, at least if it's not, well then sucks to be you because this is like a great feeling. Like how good is it when you like share something with someone and you go, oh my God, like, or like you take your time out and of your day and like you watch, like you show someone a video and they respond really well or they're interested in it, or you're able to go home and like share something that's really important to you. That's like not important like, oh, I got a promotion. Like that's important like, oh my God, today I found like the perfect Shrek meme. Donkey is like photoshopped like, you know, Tesla, whatever. I made that up. It's not a meme that exists, unfortunately. And someone actually like takes the time to like almost like not indulge you, but like hear you out and like kind of be part of that. And I think that like that is something that like to bring this back to like Brat, maybe I don't really think that like people will do that because they're also fucking concerned about like having a Brat Summer and like making their fucking profile photo the cover art, which is just not, it's just to me like no hate, but like
you feel like you'll come in there and be like, oh my God, the
like
key change on this.
I want to talk about how they've fucking stacked the tracks and like, and I'm sure that there's a niche group of people out there, but again, to what you were saying, that's so much of a commitment for me that I actually can't do that because like I have priorities with my fickle commitments and unfortunately Brat doesn't rank that high. Like,
it is hard. I mean, but then what you were saying about like finding someone, I'm also on the flip side equally in fear of somebody liking something that I like differently to how I like it. So like, you know, if you come in and you're like, this is my favorite track and they're like, no, that track sucks. This is the best track. I'm like, get out of my fandom. That's
so interesting that, yeah, I won't say a lot about that, but I kind of, I've definitely experienced that. Yeah.
I think we just hold things I think at the end of the day, we hold things so precious to ourselves and the things that we like are so kind of valuable and easily unbreakable that we need to protect them at all costs by either shoving them deep inside and not letting them exist to begin with or shutting people out of fear of disappointment or maybe just getting over it and enjoying a Brat spring.
Yeah, maybe a Brat spring is on the horizon.
For me, because I'm getting there and I like it and the album rules.
I mean,
Talk is incredible.
What is it?
Talk.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's the thing. I think I just like it for its technical prowess. Am I a Brat Summer? No, I'm a soft summer and I stand by that. So.
Well, anyway, thanks for making me go to detention.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. If you have been listening to this, you know,
thanks for listening to us on Patreon. And if you're listening to this because we decided to release it on main, please consider checking out our Patreon.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I will say that. It's pretty sick. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this completely unedited episode. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.